I heard a line once said, I hope you didn't come to sow discord in my field of peace. That word discord talks about hating and sowing it in a family. It's Proverbs 6:19. Discord means division or doing/saying things that would cause arguments, distrust, and fights within a family. How many people, situations, or families can you think of that have sowed this way? That word sow means action. It's a verb. It involves voluntary moving forward or towards something. When you sow something, you have to plant it, you have to water it, you have to till it, you have to do all of those things to help it grow. It takes active effort. We live in a generation where we think that everything can just get handed to us, that we don't have to put any active effort in, that we're entitled to something. That's not how it works. That's not God. You are entitled to nothing. God's life is a gift. Breathing is a gift. The things in your lives are gifts. It's all because of what He did for us. You don't just immediately get discord in your life. It doesn't just come from one action. It's sown a little bit and a little bit and a little bit over time. And it's usually, if not always, done in secret. That's why it's so common, and that's why the verse says families. Because you don't want to do something negative out in the open. Why would you do that? It's sown a little bit over time. Notice how it doesn't say their family. It says a family. I was raised in a family where actions that caused or ensued discord were so common, it was like rite of passage. Like you just learned to do all these things in secret to get what you wanted. If it was for the good of the family, then it was fine. I would joke saying my family was insane. But the truth is, the meaning of that word, insane, is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Believing discord is going to get you what you want or where you want in life or the outcome of a situation to go your way is like planting in an unhealthy soil and expecting a healthy crop. It's like spraying pesticides on all of your crops, knowing that it's probably going to affect that plant negatively, and yet you do it anyway, thinking it's still going to. Not that I'm against pesticides on plants, but I'm just saying. Proverbs 11:3 says, honesty guides good people. Dishonesty destroys treacherous people. That word treacherous actually means guilty or involved in betrayal or deception. When you think about discord, that's causing distrust, which usually involves lies or things that ensue deception, i.e., lies. Satan is the father of lies, mind you, fun fact. So that means that you're actually inviting Satan into a situation to function in it. I'll say that again. When you lie or cause a situation to have deception or sow discord, distrust, arguments, fights, etc., like I said before, you're inviting the enemy in to actively work in that situation. You're allowing it to be affected by the enemy. Actually, you're not allowing it, you're inviting it. Big difference between that happening circumstantially by living in a fallen world and actually actively allowing it in there. My family was ran or is run like a mafia. By the way, they'd freak out if they ever heard I said that. But it is. We had a code of things you did and didn't say and did, and like actions. The idea, to be honest, was very important, as people would think. Yet, if you lied, the question would be, was the reason a good reason? Was it for the good of the family? And then if it was a good reason, and the family saw that in their eyes, then it was good. Does that make sense? So my family, if what was happening to me, that was happening to my whole family, and we're like a pack, and you affect one of us, it affects all of us. So if I lied for the good of the family, then, well, Katie did nothing wrong. But yet I did. I sowed discord. I sowed in deception. You guys hearing me? That is underlying sowing of discord. I watched much of my family be destroyed by these things. You can't expect to have a field of peace, then actively sow the discord. I'm going to say that again. You can't actively plan to have a field of peace while you're actively sowing discord over here. God wants to bloom in your field of peace. That's his wish for all of us. But that involves him. To have a field bloom, it needs active involvement of the farmer. It's going to bloom as the harvest or plant. If it's going to bloom as the harvest or plant, then we need active forward movement from the farmer, i.e., God. He's always going to actively move. He's always moving. God is on the move all the time. But if you don't move with him, if you don't help the farmer, if you don't assist with him, then you're hindering him. Nothing hinders God more than a person who actively sows against him or away from him. Doesn't mean he stops working. It doesn't mean that he can't do anything or that hindering him affects him in any way in what his plan is, but it slows you getting there down. It's an obstacle. It's like when you're running a race and then all of a sudden you don't want to do it anymore and you just start walking. You're still going to get there eventually, but you would have got there 10 times faster if you would have kept running at the pace. That's why God's analogy of us running a race is so, so beautiful, because we're running. We're running a race. Sometimes you're walking, sometimes you're crawling, sometimes you're stopped, but you're still on your way to the end goal. It's just about what pace are you going at? What are you doing to slow your pace? You drinking enough water? You healthy enough? Are you training? Are you stretching? I mean, they're all of these things. And when you're sowing discord in your situation, you're hindering your situation. You're slowing it down. So how do we undo the damage? When you look at the problem, there is something to be learned in every problem. There's a lesson from the mess. How you choose to view it determines if it's a blessing or a scene in the soap opera of your life. Because let's be real, all of our lives are soap operas at some point or another. You have a choice on how you respond to these actions. For myself, I choose to not, to the best of my sinning ability, because come on, we're sinners and sometimes we like to talk about things we shouldn't talk about, or vice versa. To not add to the action of my family's discord. It's hard. Oh man, it's hard. There are days, people, that I just want to say it. And especially when it seems normal in the world around you to just continue to sow that discord because it's easy and it's because it's what you know. But God. That's one of my favorite lines, and you'll see it in some of my other videos as I make them. But God, or yet God. Because my grandmother used to just emphasize that so much in the word, is but God. Yeah, all this is all nice and happening, but God. Yeah, that's really painful and difficult, but God. God is bigger than our schemes. God is bigger than anything our brains mentally come up with. He made us. So therefore, he made how everything works in our brain. He sees the whole picture and he sees what happens in secret. That's in Luke 2:3. He sees everything that happens behind closed doors. Think about that. The things that happen in closed doors. God will make everything known. Don't worry about anything, but pray about everything. You can only control your active part in this. If you choose to seek God and cast down the behavior that's sowing the discord, So behavior is the sowing of the discord. That branch of poison has to be cut off. You can read a lot about branches and how they're cut off and affecting all that. A lot of that's in Ephesians. The simple first step is stopping the spread of gossip. That's a really good example of sowing discord. I think it's like the easiest one to think of. Sowing discord, so distrust, immediately you can sow distrust by gossiping about somebody. Even if it's true, you're still sowing discord because you're telling something that doesn't necessarily need to be told. The simple first step, think about that. Even though that sounds so hard, it's really not, because you're just making an active choice to not speak. I mean, really, we tell our children to shh, be quiet, don't speak. Now, this doesn't mean like if something actually is wrong or something bad's happening to somebody else or all of that stuff. I mean, that's common sense, people. But I'm just saying that actively choosing to not engage in something that's going to hurt somebody else, that's not as hard as it seems to be. Tell God about it. Tell God all about it. He probably'd love to hear your take on it, to be honest. That's the first avenue of cleaning out for the field of peace to bloom. As you make the first steps, and your plans will succeed if they're committed to the Lord. Once you step out in faith, God does the rest. Do it afraid. I've been told that so many times in my life by my grandmother. That's one of the best phrases she left me. Do it afraid. Because God's still right there. You always got God. No matter how much you may want him to leave, no matter how much you want him to not be involved, you always got God. Have a blessed day. Thanks for listening to me, and I hope to see you again.